Okay, I'm just going to share my slides now, as I'm just going to give you an overview of the SunSmart School Accreditation Toolkit, as well as other resources and practical examples, just to help you if you are deciding to become a SunSmart school or just want to know more about the whole process. So I'll just make this full screen. So yeah, it just walk through the materials and practical ideas for the classroom, and also include the curriculum links. So how it links in with, you can link in with science, SPHE, the wellbeing framework, curriculum, policy and planning, relationships and culture. So I suppose the toolkit was launched last year. So it was a soft launch last year, and I suppose we're doing a bigger push for it this year. Um, and the toolkit provides your school with information, resources, and supports to become an accredited SunSmart school. So I suppose the toolkit includes everything that you need. So it has a step-by-step process on what's involved to become a SunSmart school. It also gives practical examples, so it provides case studies of schools who have done SunSmart projects. So whether that's the BT Young Scientist exhibition or the Young Social Innovators. And I know Elaine from Castellan Community College will be talking about their case study later on in today's webinar. And then there is links to further supports and resources as well. So I suppose the first step we would recommend is to either download or order the SunSmart School Toolkit. So it is available on helppromotion.ie. We will send around the direct link to where you can download or order it following today's webinar. But we do have a number of hard copies available. So we have limited stock hard copies available every year, but every year we would restock. So if you realise that we don't have hard copies left, you can still download them and print them. But we would recommend to order hard copies while they're available. So then I know a lot of people might be wondering how the toolkit supports the school's wellbeing framework. So the SunSmart School Toolkit for post-primary schools has been developed to help schools to recognise the importance of promoting sun safety practices in the whole school environment. The toolkit links with the Department of Education's wellbeing policy statement and framework for practice, where wellbeing promotion is at the core of the ethos of every school and centre for education. So we do link in with the Department of Education every year, just about the SunSmart School accreditation, resources available, any webinars we're running. So I know the Department of Education sent out a letter to all principals in all post-primary schools last week. So that gave details of this webinar about the SunSmart School accreditation and other resources and supports available, and why it's so important to, I suppose, raise awareness of sun protection and the danger of sunbeds in schools. So I suppose just to give you some information, I suppose why should your school become a SunSmart school and why it's so important. So skin cancer is the most common cancer in Ireland, and the number of people being diagnosed with skin cancer is rising rapidly. So just over 11,000 cases diagnosed every year, and the National Cancer Registry of Ireland has shown that between 2015 and 2045, the projections for skin cancer is due to more than double. So I suppose we know that people spend a lot of time outdoors. People are more likely to go abroad on sun holidays, and then I suppose as well as that, in Ireland, majority of people would have fair skin types. That's Fitzpatrick skin type 1 or 2. So we're more susceptible to burning and more at risk of UV damage. So there is a number of reasons why in Ireland the rates are going up year on year. We know that children and young people's skin is very sensitive to UV from the sun. And also sunbeds, which can cause long-term damage. So UV exposure during the first 10 to 15 years of life makes a disproportionately larger contribution to developing skin cancer as an adult. So there is a National Skin Cancer Prevention Plan, which is written by ourselves in the HSE's National Cancer Control Programme and the Department of Health. So there is a number of specific at-risk groups we specifically target as part of the plan. And children are specifically named out, as well as adolescents and young people, because their exposure to UV during early life massively contributes to developing skin cancer late in life. And I suppose with melanoma skin cancer, that's the most dangerous form of cancer, and of skin cancer, and we do know that it can happen, that people can get melanoma in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So it is really, really important for young people to protect their skin, not get sunburned from a young age, because all of the damage that you get is cumulative. So it builds up every time you get the damage, and that can contribute to developing skin cancer later in life, which is why we are working with schools to implement and to encourage sun protection behaviours and to highlight why it's so important to protect your skin. School hours fall within peak UV periods of the day. So generally between the 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is when the UV index can be 3 or above. Now, we have always said it is between April to September, but McEnery data is showing now that from data from the last 25 years, that it's actually the UV index can be 3 or above from around St. Patrick's Day, so mid-March up to the first week of October. So even though it might look cloudy outside, you're still getting the UV damage. So if the UV index is 3 or above, you can still get damage to your skin. So schools can help protect children's skin, reducing risk of future skin cancers through education and role modeling. So I suppose there is opportunity there to kind of highlight why it's so important. So I'm going to talk through the step-by-step guide. So this gives all of the 4 steps. So the first one is to plan and commit. So first of all is to communicate your plans for accreditation. So the very starting point is to decide, does your school want to become a SunSmart school accredited school? Then identify who will become part of the working group. So will you have students, staff, principal involved? We have a checklist in the toolkit which you can review current practices. So it's kind of like an audit to see, okay, where we're at the moment, what are we currently doing in the school, what areas can we improve in, what ways can we look at implementing more SunSmart practices. Then step 2 is develop a SunSmart charter. So we have a template included in the toolkit as well. So schools can literally just put in the school name and then get it signed by the school to make sure everyone's happy with it. Or if you want, you can adapt it. You can take out bits and pieces of what you want to include in the charter. So there is one available. I know some schools might have their own one that they want to develop, but there is one available. And then once the charter has been agreed with the school, so you would display it in the school and or online to get buy-in from the whole school community. Step 3 is to implement SunSmart practices. So we have a number of suggested strategies that we include in the toolkit, which I'll go through in a minute. I'm not including all of them. It's just some examples that we would recommend. But some of them would include the SunSmart lesson plans. So within the HSE Making Healthy Choices too, there is a sun protection module in it. So that's for junior cycles. We would encourage schools to use that. There is currently another resource being developed for senior cycle, which we are including sun protection sunbeds. Now that's not available probably till the next year, but it will be made available. And then also simple things that you can do in the school, like put up SunSmart posters about the dangers of sunbed use, provide relevant resources to parents and guardians. We do have a sample letter for parents and guardians as well, just on the importance of sun protection for children and why you're applying for the accreditation. So that's a sample letter that schools can also use. And then I suppose next is to decide what actions your school plan to implement. Also really important to ensure an evaluation process is included as part of it, so to kind of review your practices and what you're doing. So these are just some examples. Again, we have left space in the toolkit for schools to add others. So if there's something maybe that doesn't quite align with what you're doing, you can put in your own strategies, but these are examples that we've included. So as I said, the UV index is checked daily. So as we say, generally April, September, but the data is now starting to show that it's from middle of March to beginning of October. And that's communicated to the school. So when the UV index is 3 or above, that staff and students are encouraged to kind of check that, take action to look at the data or have maybe someone in the school to update what the UV index is each day for the school so they know. Then for certain outdoor activities, so excursions, sports days, inter-school sports days, sports events, that you check what the UV index is for that day. And if it's 3 or above, it's really important to include and highlight the importance of the sun protection strategies, which is wearing hat, clothing, shade and sunscreen. And sunglasses as well. Then when we look at shade as another area, an assessment of existing shade would be conducted annually to review the quality and availability of shade. So you might do an audit to see what shade is currently available in the school. Then having a look to see when students and staff are outside, are there any shaded areas for them to sit at if students want to avail of it? Is there no shade available? Would it be worthwhile looking at shade structures available? Where do students generally congregate? So kind of just doing an audit of what's available. And then students and staff will be encouraged to use available shaded areas when outside, especially when the UV index is 3 or above. Then with clothing, so uniforms would encourage covering skin for sun protection, also wide brimmed hats, so looking at long sleeves. And then staff and students are encouraged to wear hats that protect their face, ears and neck where appropriate when outside. Now, I know a lot of people prefer the baseball style caps, which is fine. But if you are wearing a baseball style cap, it's just really, really important to remember that those caps don't cover your ears, back of your neck and parts of your face. And they are places where people are very likely to get sunburnt. So if you are wearing those style of caps, you do need to put on the sunscreen, reapply it regularly, whereas what we recommend is a bucket style or wide brimmed hat, because then you don't have to worry about the reapplication and applying sunscreen. Then when it comes to sunscreen, so students will be encouraged to bring their own sunscreen from home and reapply regularly throughout the school day. The school regularly communicates with parents, reminding them to ensure their children apply sunscreen, so it's SPF 50 plus before coming to school, and then kind of have it with them to reapply. So the recommendation is for adults to wear SPF 30 plus, and anyone under the age of 18 to wear SPF 50 plus. When it comes to education and awareness raising, so communicate information about being SunSmart regularly, so whether it's through whatever communication channels you use, whether it's newsletters, the internet. And the school commits to delivering SunSmart activities as part of SPHE to all junior cycle classes. There's also opportunity in transition year for students to do kind of more work when it comes to sun protection. They might even like to lead on becoming a SunSmart school or other kind of research projects or sciencey projects that they could do in transition year. Then look at different ways sun safety education can be integrated into the curriculum where relevant. When it comes to the school community engagement, so school staff would role model the sun protection behaviours and designate at least one SunSmart champion. So that can be a staff and or student to inform and encourage school-wide SunSmart behaviours. Now, I know that Castletown Community College will be presenting their case study, which they kind of were the initial pilot school to become a SunSmart school. So they'll be able to give kind of some practical examples of what they did in their school, which might be helpful. So as I mentioned, the HSE Making Healthy Choices 2 is available for schools to use, which I'm sure you're already aware of. If you do want this resource, you can request it by emailing prevention@cancercontrol.ie. And then the last step is to apply for the accreditation. So if you feel like you have got 5 strategies fully implemented within the school and you have a charter developed, you can then apply for the accreditation. So you would upload the criteria that you meet via the registration form, which I'll share in a minute, and then a copy of the charter. The SunSmart School Accreditation steering group will review the application and then will provide a certificate of accreditation if successful. So as I said, it's the 5 strategies and the SunSmart School Charter, and the application form is available. So the QR code is on screen. We will also send a link to it following today's webinar with all the information on where you can apply, where the form is and the steps on how to do it. Then I suppose with some practical ways that we would suggest for post-primary schools to teach sun protection. We are working with McEnery at the moment to develop some short educational videos on the importance of sun protection, and also to give schools some project ideas that they can use within the schools. So we will be sharing them as part of the campaign, the SunSmart campaign, which commences in April time. So we can share those videos to each of you who've attended today's webinar when they are available. Then we also would suggest, as an example of a project, would be to daily UV index displays. So UV index poster is put on a notice board and have students dedicated each day to update it to check what it is. You can also compare Ireland's UV index to other European countries to build awareness, because sometimes I think we often think in Ireland the UV index probably isn't that high, but you would be surprised that even on cloudy days the UV index can be 3 or above. Another example of a project would be student-led campaigns. So have students design a dangers of sunbed campaign, maybe develop posters or short videos explaining the dangers of artificial tanning. Maybe encourage peer-to-peer education. So students often respond better to messages from their own age group. There is also in the toolkit kind of examples of how the Castleknock Community College applied for the Young Social Innovators Programme, and also other students who applied for the BT Young Scientists and Technology Exhibition, which relates to sun protection and our sunbeds. So it's just worth looking at that to kind of get some maybe ideas. As I mentioned, transition year is a really, really good opportunity to use a wide range of teaching and learning methods when it comes to sun protection. So the SunSmart Toolkit, I suppose, is an ideal transition year project. So it will provide a range of skills, which includes research, interviews, classroom discussion, practical work, and also guest speakers. So I'm just going to quickly run through some resources and more information. So as I mentioned, we do have our annual SunSmart campaign, which runs from April to September every year. So it's run by ourselves in the HSE's National Cancer Control Programme and Healthy Ireland to increase awareness of steps you can take to protect your skin from the sun and reduce your risk of skin cancer. We also have a Dangers of Sunbed Awareness campaign, which runs right throughout the year. So when we're sending information following today's webinar, we can send you the partner pack for the Dangers of Sunbed Awareness campaign. The partner pack for the SunSmart campaign will be launching the end of March, because the campaign starts 1st of April. So we can send that on when that's available. We have a wide range of posters, leaflets and resources available to download, or you can order hard copies free of charge from healthpromotion.ie. Again, we'll send a link on where you can order or download these. I've just given some examples of posters and a leaflet that we have available. And these were specifically written and developed for adolescents and young people. We also have a wide range of SunSmart videos available on the NCCP YouTube channel, which debunk myths relating to skin cancer and sunbeds. So we have worked with dermatologists over the years who've recorded short videos debunking some myths. Like examples would include, is it safe to get a tan? Are the chemicals in sunscreen dangerous? Why is it so important to protect your skin? Like, there's a lot of questions and a lot of, I suppose, myths that we see on TikTok and Snapchat. So the dermatologists have recorded videos to kind of debunk these myths. So these might be good short videos to share with students in the classroom when you're doing any educational pieces with them. And as I said, we are working with McEnery to record some short videos for this year's campaign, which we can share when they are developed and completed. I won't go through the Marie Keating Foundation Schools Cancer Awareness Programme, because I know we have Bernie Carter here today to go through that in detail. And then just lastly, we do have support available for you as a teacher and the school. If you are considering becoming a SunSmart school, you might find it a bit overwhelming. You're not sure where to start. You might have some questions. So we do have regional, so senior health promotion improvement officers in cancer prevention in each of the HSE health regions. So all of their contact details are available in the toolkit resource, which we will also send around to everyone following today's webinar. If you can find someone in your area, you can contact prevention@cancercontrol.ie and we can direct you to the relevant person. And then I've just linked in here my email address and our website where you can get more information. So I'm just going to stop sharing now. And as I said, we will be answering questions. So if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat and we will have time at the very end for Q&A. Thanks.